Hi, my name is Joan Lanfranco and I'm the Head of Communications and Outreach at the EU office of the Heinrich-Böll-Stiftung. You are listening to the Böll Europe podcast. In case you're listening to us for the first time, we are the German Green Political Foundation, affiliated with the German political party Alliance 90 the Greens. Our EU office in Brussels represents the foundation in front of European and international institutions, associations, civil society organizations, and media based in Brussels. For more info about our work, check out our website eu.böll.org. Today on the Böll Europe podcast, we focus on the situation in Argentina, 1 year into the presidency of Javier Milei. Milei, a self-described anarcho-capitalist, surprised Argentina's political establishment and won the presidential elections. He's an admirer of US President-elect Donald Trump and also of tech mogul Elon Musk. And his political platform is characterized by harsh austerity measures and also a very conservative social agenda. Using the rulebook of other illiberal regimes throughout the world when it comes to political communications and dealing with pluralism, his style and policies are making waves worldwide. What is going on in Argentina, and what are the implications for human rights, digital rights, and the environment? We explore these dimensions with 3 Argentinian civil society representatives that visited Brussels in November 2024 to present their case to key EU decision makers and stakeholders. Cecilia Ales is Director for Institutional Development at the Center for Legal and Social Studies, CELS, a leading human rights organization that was created in 1979 during the last dictatorship in Argentina. Beatriz Busaniche is Executive Director at Fundación Vía Libre, a civil society organization that has been working on human rights in environments mediated by digital technologies since year 2000. Ariel Slipak is Research Coordinator at the Environment and Natural Resources Foundation, FARN, with a focus on topics related to socio-ecological transition and energy transition. Thank you very much to the 3 of you for being with us, and also this whole week of meetings and events here in Brussels. It was really a pleasure to be with you this week. But we wanted to communicate, to let know all our audience that could not make it to our public event, but also who is interested in what's going on in Argentina. What's the situation there? So maybe Cecilia, what can you tell us? What's going on in Argentina?
Well, thanks, Joan, and thanks to the Bell Foundation for organizing this program for us here in Brussels this week. And since Milei took office in December 2023, Argentina is going through a radical transformation, including the political, social, economical fields. Milei is destroying the social protection infrastructure and at the same time growing the repression infrastructure, the repressive infrastructure. The people are suffering, really. Economic indicators are terrible. However, international institutions such as the IMF or the IDB praise Milei because of for reducing the fiscal deficit. And we think it's important for the people here to know how bad the situation is in Argentina for those of us who live there, especially those who are the most vulnerable sectors of society. Milei is not alone. He's part of the far-right movement that is present in different governments throughout the world, including America and Europe, in El Salvador, Hungary, Brazil, and the US recently. So he's part of a network that is becoming very, very strong, and we are very worried about that, and we think we have to build a different network of progressive movements and with progressive allies to counter what is going on globally. Milei is dangerous because it's showing traits common to other far-right regimes, including repression and stigmatization of social protests, attacks on freedom of expression, and his silence in public media too. At the same time, we are moving away from the promotion of human rights at regional and international level we are moving away from the pacifist and progressive positions in multilateral fora that Argentina had since the return of democracy, and that is something that worries us also. Um, and taking into account the measures Milei is implementing, we feel that there's no way Argentina can be a developed country if the state's regulatory infrastructure is destroyed. The country is unreservedly open to extractivism, and the scientific and educational systems are destroyed, which is what he's trying to do right now in our country.
Thanks, Cecilia. Thanks for this the great introduction of what's going on. I wanted to turn to you, to Ariel, on the economic side. So Milei is self-proclaimed as a libertarian, but it seems that even many of his economic ideas are at odds with classic liberalism. So tell us, what's the thought, and what's actually the action that this libertarianism is bringing to Argentina?
Well, thank you very much, Joan. Um, Milei is taking a lot of measures against the majorities, against the workers, and redistributing the income in Argentina to huge companies, especially those extractivism. Why I'm saying this? Because 3 days after he started his government, we had a devaluation of the currency exchange of 118%. That make that accelerated the inflation rate in Argentina only in December 25%, and we have an inflation accumulated between January of 2020 to 2024 to September of more than 100%. And what are the impacts uh, of these measures, the devaluation and other measures? As Cecilia said, the cuttings to the programs of health, education, science, social assistance, pensions. So we had an increase of the poverty uh, to the poverty increased more than an 11 points to 52.9%. 52.9% of the people of Argentina are poor. So that's a kind of a tragedy. The indigency, which is people that not has not enough money to buy some basic food, is like more than 18%. The poverty in childhood is 66%. We have an increase during Milei presidency of the unemployment rate to 7.6%, the rate of unemployment, and also pensions are going down, and we have a decrease of the purchase power of the pensions, almost of 20%. So that's a tragedy, because you have a lot of old people that cannot buy medicine, cannot buy food. And we have in Argentina that reflects a lot of people in cities in the streets. Uh, so that's a very sad context of Argentina. Also, in this budget, Milei is cutting taxes to rich people. It's not true that Milei, as a libertarian, is decreasing the intervention of the state in the economy. The state has a lot of policies to redistribute the income and to benefit extractivism and to benefit companies. The inflation projection for the next year is almost around 28%. They are own projections of the government. So also Milei is taking a lot of new measures, for example, new laws to give more financial and currency exchange and fiscal benefits to extractivism companies. So that's in the economical stuff. That shows a lot of problems to people and on economical rights, economical and social rights.
Thanks, Ariel. We'll come back to the issue of extractivism certainly, but that was a very good picture of also what's going on economic terms. Turning to Beatriz. So, what can you tell us about the digital space, which is one of your areas of expertise, and not only that, but also what impact the cuts that Ariel just mentioned have on education, but also on science. Argentina has been quite and at the forefront of scientific research and with very good public universities renowned all over the world. So, what can you tell us on that regard?
Well, if you are listening to what my colleagues are already said, you might be wondering where is resistance coming from. And I can for sure tell you that the movement that is in the streets right now and occupying the universities is the students and professors and scientific areas and education sector, especially the university sector, which is the one that is suffering some of the biggest cuts in this austerity policy that Milei is implementing since he came to office. Just to give you an example of what is happening in Argentina in the education field, the budget for 2024 current year went down in 40%. Our salaries as university professors lost 30% of purchase capacity. There are several faculties that are losing their professors. Just to give you an example, in a moment when Javier Milei and all his crew are praising that Argentina will be leading in the artificial intelligence career, and he's so happily being received by what we usually call the tech bros, like people like Elon Musk and all the big tech in the US. We are in parallel losing professors in critical areas like computer science and engineers. For example, in this year, around 100 professors from the engineering faculty at the University of Buenos Aires quit. They left their positions. For next year, one of the universities in the Buenos Aires province, the National University of Quilmes, is not opening the careers related to computer science just because they don't have professors and they cannot afford the budget. The budget cannot sustain these careers, which are so important for the scientific system. So this trend on cutting budgets and cutting spendings is impacting seriously in the education field, and that has a serious impact in the digital sphere and the capacities that Argentina might have to develop a real and sovereign policy on technology, which I will go more deep into details in a few minutes. But the situation in Argentina regarding science and technology, um, the the science and technology field was an example of development in Argentina. We have professors and that are world class level, recognized publications and research all over the world. And the only positive thing that I could say in this regard is that most of the universities around the world, especially the ones in Latin America, are showing solidarity with our professors and showing support to the situation that we as professors in Argentina, what the situation we are dealing with.
Thanks, Bea. Actually, diving into what you just mentioned on digital rights, as you said, Milei has been seen very, very close to what you said, the tech bros, particularly Elon Musk, and seeing some sort of role model. But what does it mean for Argentina to get closer to the sector? What does it mean for digital rights, for AI, for surveillance? What is changing with the new administration, and where do you see the risks for digital rights there?
Well, there are three main topics I guess we can address. Of course, there are a lot more, but I would like to address three issues that are especially worrying. The one is this you mentioned, this affinity that Milei has with the tech bros and his, I could. We could describe his view of the technology development as the Californian ideology, as a place absolutely free of regulations. He's very critical to the regulations that are being developed here in Europe regarding the platforms and the AI system. And so his promise to the tech bros and his friends is that Argentina will be a place free, absolutely free of regulations on this kind of technology. So he's promising this, it will be the promised land for these companies. He's promising to give them no regulations, even while there are around 18 projects to regulate artificial intelligence in Congress. None of them has any chance to pass because of this view that the government has on no regulations at all, including not improving the data protection law in Argentina, which is um, uh, um, it is based on the European spirit on on data protection, but data protection is a mess in Argentina. We have several problems regarding privacy and surveillance. This promise of no regulation, full territories, and the capacity of the investors to use water, territories, and whatever they need to develop their data centers in Argentina. That's a promise Milei is doing to the tech bros. But on the other hand, there are other two issues that are also important. There is a big trend on buying surveillance technologies. And in fact, we had a new resolution coming from the Ministry of Security to use artificial intelligence for law enforcement and enforcement agencies. So that means policy profiling, pre-crime identification, profiling of potential organizations doing committing crimes with, and we know that this idea comes from this criminalization of the social demonstrations and the social groups that are protesting against these measures. And on the other field, we are having a strong and huge and escalating online violence. This is not new for Argentina. It's something that is developing since before Milei came to office, but his followers are part of this um, uh, uh, online violence that is especially directed to women and to journalists and to civil society activists. Um, this is we are especially concerned on the chilling effects that this is having, because this violence is being supported, of course, with public money. Most of the more well-known trolls from the troll center supporting Milei are now working at the state level with huge salaries, and they are being paid with funding from the public budget. This also the public budget is increasing for intelligence services, and we know that this money is going to support these attacks online. These technologies that are very invasive and intrusive technologies, and to experiment with AI to profile all of us potential criminals as they in the view of this government.
Thanks, Bea, for this insight. Clearly, a curtailing of civil liberties, which brings me also to another important topic, particularly what in Argentina is known as memory, truth, and justice. So the reparation after what the state or the dictatorship rather did in the last dictatorship in Argentina. So, Cecilia, what can you tell us about the companions of Millet? So the people that is either part of the movement or that help him arrive to power, and what consequences that has on the human rights policy of the state, not only within and within organizations working on the field, but also at international level. So what does it mean for the engagement of Argentina in the human rights community, particularly at the United Nations?
And I would say that Argentina, the government of Argentina, not the country as a whole, is having a revisionist position and denialist position regarding the process of memory, truth, and justice for crimes against humanity committed during the dictatorship, as you said. I mean, they are trying to reshape the narrative to say that that wasn't a process that led to justice, but to vengeance, and to present the dictators who were um, imprisoned and convicted after a fair trial for very serious crimes, that they are victims of this system of revenge. Milei took office jointly with Victoria Villarruel, who is his vice president, and she's, unlike Milei, she is a nationalist, and she's very well connected with the military, being his parent and his aunt military too, and he's a very intelligent person who is not openly supporting torture or murder, but with this narrative, she is presenting the trials as something unfair. While on the other side, the crimes committed by supposedly terrorists were not tried in the same way. So she's very intelligent in how is trying to reshape this narrative. So we think she's very dangerous too. And she is a person who has visited in jail, for example, Videla, who was one of the members of the military junta in Argentina. Many things have been going on in the past few months in this area. This administration is dismantling memory police, is defunding memory sites, is destroying institutions that should be helping justice or bringing information to justice to nurture criminal investigations against those who committed crimes. Um, so they are trying to destroy an effort, a continuous effort made by the three branches in government: justice, the legislative power, and the executive power throughout 40 years. And more broadly, sorry, Argentina has been an important supporter of human rights institutions, treaties, and agreements in the human rights field, both at the regional level and internationally at the UN. And Milei is separating the country from that agenda very seriously, and in particular questioning, undermining the gender equality agenda and the environmental agendas. Those are two agendas that Milei especially don't like. He doesn't like, sorry, and he has made very serious pronunciations at the Organization of American States, at the UN, including also the G20 recently, because Argentina did not, it was the only country that did not sign a document on gender equality and the empowerment of women that is going to be presented to all the presidents in the upcoming November meeting. And Argentina did not sign it. So that's a sign of how we are moving away from the most progressive human rights agendas that have been an important part of our foreign policy so far.
Thanks, Cecilia, for this insight. This is particularly worrying since, from a multilateral point of view, well, Argentina has been an ally of the European Union at the human rights fora, like the UN, but also when it comes to climate negotiations, international climate negotiations, and commitments. And that turns me back to Ariel, because we wanted to dig a bit deeper on the situation of extractivism and what this turbo libertarianism means for on the one side for nature, but also for the people around it. So for indigenous communities, there's also the hype of lithium going on in Argentina. So what does this Milei government means for these topics?
Thank you very much, Joan. For us, it's very important to tell the community what's happening in the ground in territories with indigenous communities, as you said, and also rural communities and different social movements on extractivism. Argentina has had a primary extractive economic metrics since before Milei, with a lot of weight of a very intense agriculture of soya or also soybeans or also lithium last years, or extreme techniques of extraction of hydrocarbons such as fracking or such offshore exploitation that previous government wanted to expand, and this even worse. Millet said, or functionaries of the government said that they are going to approve every extractivist project with no consultants. Consultants are not important. I can add that a new law that Millet got approval, the so-called basis for the freedom of the Argentinians, for example, reduce the importance of the public hearings. So to listen to the people and to comply a very important treatment of for Latin America, which is Escazú treatment, which is around participation and also access to information. Milei's administration is not complying it. So in last month, in the same law of the basis law, Milei adds some conditions that benefit extractivist activities. For example, as I said before, he gave some fiscal benefits, external tariff benefits for 30 years, and also currency exchange benefits. But which is important that affects territories is that this law says that if the economical benefits are in risk, those benefits are above provincial laws or municipal or local laws or even national. So what that means is that if we have a labor law or environmental law that can affect a project of mining, lithium mining, or can affect or slow down, for example, to for environmental regulation, a fracking project, they are above. Those extractivist industries are above that loss, and they are above consultation, and they are also above indigenous rights. So that what we are having is an expansion of the extractivism frontier, and also Milei's security minister, Patricia Bullrich, created a special coordination between repressive forces to secure those extractivism projects against the people, against social movements that are treated as terrorists. Also, for example, Milei is cutting budget to a lot of environmental offices, for example. The budget for the care or the protections of the native goods of Argentina, for example, is not executed during 2024 and had decreased in or is going to decrease in the next law bill on the next budget bill or budget project. So that increased the deforestation and also the displacement of communities. And these economical benefits to extractivist activities. For example, I also can add that Milei is increasing subsidies to gas extraction. So these economical measures to favor extractivist activities such as mining and favor the activities such as hydrocarbons and also industrial agriculture with industrial techniques. The cutting of program of agroecology, for example, cutting of programs of conservation programs also are in coordination with the increase in the violence that Cecilia mentioned, and also the increase in the vigilance that Beatriz mentioned, and also the persecution against environmental defensors is increasing. So it's a very risky panorama to defend the environmental defensors.
Thanks, Ariel, for that info. Also, in light of the negotiations for a EU Mercosur trade agreement, these are certainly issues that will have to be looked at closely on the EU side. And that takes me a bit to what you have done this week in Brussels. So you've spent a whole week meeting different EU institutions, the European Parliament, the European Commission, the European External Action Service, also civil society working on Latin America. And you also spoke at a public event with a member of the European Parliament, Saskia Brikmont, and with Jimena Reyes from the International Federation on Human Rights. So, what is your take of this week in Brussels, of all the people you met, people with which you could make your case? Maybe I start with Ariel. So, what is your feeling of this week, and what would be your main asks for the EU after what you discussed?
Thank you very much, Juan. Uh, I feel very well during this week because well, we were well received by the foundation, and also we received a lot of solidarity. Solidarity of some European parliamentaries, but also we meet civil society organizations, and we receive, as I said, a lot, a lot of solidarity, and they want to help. So that's the most important thing. In the public event, also, it made me feel incredible to meet a lot of people that used to live in Argentina and escaped, for example, from the last dictatorship, or maybe sons of people that escaped from the dictatorship. So to give them a hug, it's like very important for us. They are very special people. So and we have a lot of high level meetings with European functionaries or EU functionaries. I would like to say something about the DigiTrade meeting. For us, it was very interesting to meet people that are in the negotiations between Mercosur EU commercial agreement, because in a few months the Argentinian government and Latin or Mercosur governments and EU governments wants to accelerate the signature of the memorandum and also approve the treaty. So we can ask the functionaries a lot of things or ways that that civil society or both in both continents will have to ask questions, also to make compliance. And I also have the possibility. We also have the possibility to tell the functionaries some things that or how are things going in Argentina. For example, last week, Milei cut the instruments or dissolved the instrument to, as I said, Milei is not also cutting budget. Milei is also disabling some instruments of politics, environmental politics. So last week, Milei disabled the fiduciary fund that coordinate the subsidies to conserve native goods, for example, which is important, for example, for EU. And we could tell European functionaries what is happening with that and violations of regulation on deforestation, for example, just to let them know what happens in Argentina. Instead, we have not signed the treaty yet, but I just wanted to tell them how things work in Argentina. Also, Argentina is having a lot of fires, and we also could tell them that the policies around the prevention and on the fires also had suffered the budget cutting. So those regulations we know that are important for EU functionaries. So it was very interesting just to know them and to tell to them a lot of stuff about Argentinian regulations and Argentinian realities. And we can also we could ask a lot of questions of how if we have a signature, how which things the civil society organizations can do in both sides.
Great, thanks, Ariel. And for you, Beatriz, what was your main take of this week of meetings and events?
Well, for us in Via Libre, our agenda is a very international agenda. Most of the things that we follow in Argentina have a correlation in the policies here in Europe. So, one of the things that I am very happy to have had here in Brussels was really, really good meetings with civil society here in Europe. I think the connections with civil society are so important to share experience, to learn from what is happening all over the world, and to address topics that we have in common. For example, all the impacts of surveillance technologies, all the agenda on data protection, all the agenda on social and impacts of artificial intelligence, and all the regulations on artificial intelligence are topics that we share with civil society here in Europe. So we are very happy to have had these meetings with colleagues here. Thank you so much to the Foundation for having made that possibility happen, because there's a lot of more things that we believe that we can do together to access to information from both sides when it comes to things like, for example, agreements between European Union and the Mercosur, and this agenda that might be hard to follow from the global south, far away from Argentina, might be easy to follow when you have good insights from here, the European Union. So I would like to stress that civil society here is a very has a strong solidarity with what is happening in Argentina. One of my feelings is that when Bolsonaro came to power in Brazil, a lot of people understood what was happening, paid attention to Brazil, and followed up the human rights implications of that government in Brazil. But I don't see the same thing when it comes to Milei. Milei somehow the same kind of president as Bolsonaro in Brazil, but somehow it's been seen here in Europe as someone that is doing well with economy, and the rest of the issues are not well covered. So as Ariel already said, I felt a lot of solidarity, and I guess we have to improve our communications with civil society here in Europe to let them know that this current trend in Argentina has and it will have real impact on human rights. And if we agree on some of European values, and as Ursula von der Leyen said when in her last meeting with Milei, that we all share the values, well, might not be the case. I don't know if this cultural battle that Milei is doing in Argentina will succeed, but for sure will work for improve the human rights values, and that's something I want to address. Civil society here in Europe has been very interested and solid and showed solidarity with our cause, and we live in a world together. Climate crisis, migrations, wars, different wars all over the world are a problem for all of us, and having and losing the human rights agenda will be costly for all of us. So paying attention what is happening in Argentina is something that we expect the European authorities will do, and that's what we had this week. We tried to show the situation and the trend in Argentina.
Thanks, Beatrice. That's very clear. And last but not least, Cecilia, what's your take of the week, and what will be your main asks for the EU institutions?
First of all, I share with my colleagues that we received a lot of solidarity from all the people that we met throughout this week, and that is very important for us, and that we have found new allies here in Europe to spread the word about what is going on in Argentina, which I find is very important. But at the same time, I need to say that I had an important reality check because I felt how human rights standards are becoming less and less important. And I find that as an activist and CELS as a human rights organization, it's important to find a way to be present at other international fora where we are not presently at present time being. What I want to say is that it's not enough to be part of international human rights mechanisms such as the UN and protection mechanisms or the Inter-American Human Rights System, that human rights are being discussed in other fields such as when trade agreements are being discussed. It's important for human rights activists to be present where trade agreements are discussed and where trade agreements are being enforced. Because what I felt is that that's where that's those are the places that are important for us right now to push for human rights standards. And I think we have to develop new skills to do that, because we are not trained to do that. The places where we have been present and what we know a lot are the international and regional human rights protection mechanisms, not the places where trade agreements are discussed. So we have to develop new skills. We have to find new alliances to be there and to do it in an efficient and effective manner. And on the other hand, and taking the words of MEP Saskia Brinkmont, who shared a panel with us a couple of days ago, I would ask for the EU to have policy coherence, because the great European values, as Beatriz said previously, including human rights in general, and in particular gender equality and environmental safeguards, are not necessarily present in the agreements that are being discussed right now, in my opinion. So that, I would say, is my ask for EU institutions.
Thanks, Cecilia. Thanks so much, and thanks to the three of you for your words, for your insight. I think that it's been a super interesting week, not only for us in the EU office of the Böll Foundation, but also for all the people we have met at the institutions, civil society, journalists. So thank you very much. We hope that you will keep doing the great work you do in Argentina, but also around the world. And we hope to see you soon again.
Thank you, Joan.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for listening to this Böll Europe podcast episode on Argentina. You can find more information about the work of our guests on the show notes and also on our website, eu.böll.org. With the perspective of a new European Commission starting soon and Donald Trump elected once again as US President, I would like to recommend you 3 publications. The new policy paper by Rachel Tausenfreund from the German Council on Foreign Relations and by Roderick Kefeput, our EU Office Director, explores scenarios on how the EU and its member states may adjust their Ukraine and NATO policies to the new US administration. Another new study by Sophie Purnschlegel, Deputy Director at Europe Jacques Delors, From Democratic Resilience to Democratic Security, a post-2024 democracy agenda for the EU, looks at initiatives taken by the European Commission in the past term and puts forward recommendations for the new EU cycle, notably around the so-called Democracy Shield. Last but not least, our new European Green Deal Risk Radar looks at the state of play of 13 key legislative files of the European Green Deal and identifies the potential risk these laws face in view of being delayed, defunded, undermined, or even withdrawn in the new EU term. If you enjoyed this episode of the Böll Europe podcast, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your friends. Until the next episode, goodbye!